Pregnancy loss or the death of a baby during pregnancy is one devastating moment for parents and even those around them. And sincerely, we acknowledge this traumatic experience they go through, which is why today we want to continue the conversation on how to cope with miscarriage and stillbirth. Remember, some time ago in June, we started a conversation on miscarriage, and we had a doctor who talked about the causes and how to go about it should you experience that. And today we're going to continue with that conversation. A very beautiful evening to you, and thank you for joining us on another very interesting and informative edition of Ghana Plus right here on Apia TV. This is where we discuss health issues that affect women and girls in the society. My name is Doris Mayim Shishe, and like I mentioned a while ago, today we'll be looking at stillbirth and miscarriage. And we had started something on miscarriage before, and if you missed out on that, you can go to our YouTube channel at Apia TV Lifestyle and Culture so you can catch a glimpse of all that was talked about. And of course, we are at Foodopolis. Last week we were here and we are here again, and this is just to let you know that this cozy ambience you're seeing here is a place you can visit. It is located at the heart of Enugu 042 year, and Apia TV this August is celebrating the 040 month because Enugu State will be 33 sometime in August, and this is a way of commemorating this great milestone. And at this point I have a very beautiful guest in the studio. When I say beautiful, you should start imagining how beautiful. Well, we're going to break now, and after that you will meet my guest. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Ghana Plus right here on Apia TV, and this is where we discuss health issues that affect women and girls in the society. My name is Doris Mayim Shishe, and yeah, this program comes up every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and there's always a repeat broadcast on Saturday at 8 p.m. so you don't get to miss out on any of these. Please do take that up today. So today, I'd mentioned a while ago that we'll be talking about stillbirth and miscarriage, and joining me, ladies and gentlemen, joining me to talk about this is a beautiful doctor. I told you a while ago, I'm talking about Dr. Moneke Chidimma. She is a resident doctor in obstetric and gynecology, University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital to Gozala. Welcome, Dr. Chidimma.
Thank you so much.
You're so beautiful.
Oh, you too.
All the steeze or the composure. Welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, one would rather wonder that, okay, so why are we excited? Because we're talking about miscarriage and stillbirth, so we're not going to mourn, right? But I know it's something that affects a lot of women. It's something that is really devastating. And some persons have a difficult way of coping with this. But before we get into talk about all of that, just give us a brief background to the meaning of miscarriage and stillbirth. Are they the same thing? Talk to us about that, really.
Oh, okay. I want to say a big thank you for inviting me over. So, most times people talk about stillbirth and miscarriages. They use it interchangeably. But the thing is, they're actually different. So, miscarriages is when you lose a baby before the age of viability. So what do I mean by age of viability? Like, it means like the age the baby will be able to survive in our environment. So it actually differs in different places. The age of viability in the UK is not the same with Nigeria, it's not the same with US. Okay, so here in Nigeria, our age of viability is 28 weeks. So if you lose a baby before the 28 weeks, it's called miscarriage, okay? Or if you lose a baby after 28 weeks, it's called stillbirth. Yes, so they're actually two different terms.
So, I mean, are there certain signs? I know in one of our episodes we had talked about miscarriage, and they talked about the doctor who was on the show that they talked about some of the signs too. Will you give us a refresher on that? Are there similar signs and symptoms in the case of miscarriage and, of course, stillbirth? Are there signs that women should look out for? What is that one thing that they will begin to feel while they are pregnant that, oh, something is wrong with my baby?
Okay, so actually they are like close sort of symptoms and signs, but I'll just take it differently so that we'll be able to understand.
Good.
So when it comes to miscarriages, there are symptoms that once you see it, you know that there's trouble. You need to meet the nearest obstetrician or the gynecologist. So when you see that you are bleeding, and you are having these lower tummy pains, and you're supposed to be pregnant, you have to meet your gynecologist, because those are like telltale signs that something is really going on, something really sinister. And then as for, stillbirth, now the baby is bigger. The baby is more than 28 weeks. So if you start seeing that your baby, you've not felt your baby move for some time, you feel like I'm not having those pregnancy symptoms anymore. So that's another reason why you need to go see your obstetrician, because they'll have to do an ultrasound and then make sure that the baby's fine.
Okay, so now you talked about bleeding in the case of miscarriage. I know it's something that was raised some time ago, but is it like when you see a spot or blood, or it has to be like a menstrual flow kind of bleeding?
Okay, so I like that question because I've been asked that question a lot in my channel. So the thing is this, when you see a spot, at the early time of pregnancy, it doesn't really necessarily mean that you are having a miscarriage, no. It just means that probably that the baby is trying to implant. Okay, there's something we call implantation. That means the baby is trying to get its, hold into the uterus, that's the womb. Okay, so that is not really something you should be worried about, especially if it's light pink. Okay. But when you start seeing it coming out like in clots, and you're seeing it coming like period blood, then you should start getting worried. Okay, and then you start seeing it's not just once, it's now more like a frequent thing. And maybe let's say it started like a spot, but before you know it, it's more like a period thing. You really need to go see an obstetrician or gynecologist.
So that has to be either in the case of miscarriage or stillbirth, either of this period. Once that happens, you should rush.
Yes.
Now, one will want to wonder, what are the causes? Is there something that triggers this kind of experience? Is something that really goes down there? Medically, talk to us about the causes that are responsible for this to happen.
Okay, so yes, there are causes. There are different types of things that can cause it. So I would like to start with I actually had to divide it into two different things so that it can help us in assimilation. So we have non-modifiable causes and we have modifiable causes. Okay, so non-modifiable causes are like things you can't, it's not your fault, it just happened. Okay, so if you have a woman that is increased, that has an increased age, increased maternal age, you are more likely to have a miscarriage. Okay, if not well taken care of. And then there are other things like if it's familial or if it's in your genetics. It's not your fault. You can't do anything about it. It's already there, so it's non-modifiable. But as for modifiable things, there are things that you can do and you can actually prevent that from happening. Is that if you're used to smoking, if you're used to taking alcohol, we'll actually, encourage you to stop doing any of that. And then if you're someone that takes a lot of caffeine, caffeine is a big killer. So if you take a lot of caffeine, I think you probably should step down on that too. Okay, so those are like the the modifiable causes. And then of course there are other things that can cause these miscarriages and even stillbirths. So these things are like if you have what we call diabetes. Okay, so a lot of people have diabetes but they do not know they do have it because probably they are waiting for when symptoms, like very awkward symptoms, probably faint or something. But some people might have overt diabetes, so if it's good you go and do some checkup once in a while so that they get to know your blood sugar level, and then they'll find out if you're diabetic or not. Okay, so if you also have other things like there are other metabolic things like what we call PCOS. It's actually very common nowadays. Okay, so a lot of women have PCOS. So if you have PCOS, if you've got something that we call antiphospholipid syndrome, so those are the things that can cause it. Then of course if you have infections, there are very common infections that can actually cause stillbirth. Okay, so things like toxoplasmosis, rubella, cytomegalovirus, herpes. Don't worry, they are big words.
So very big, I was going to say.
Yeah, they're big, but it's something really relatable. So if you have all those kind of infections, and even a poorly treated sexually transmitted disease can also cause that. Then of course, still on the stillbirth, things that can cause stillbirth, I'd like to also touch more of a social thing. Okay, if you're experiencing some form of domestic violence, no matter how we try to downplay it, it's actually there. A lot of women are going through that. So if you're experiencing domestic violence and your partner keeps hitting on your belly or something, yes, of course you would have it. If you're under so much stress, tension, it can actually tweak your hormones and it can actually, make you miscarry a baby. So those are like the few things.
And these are things that can be avoided, really.
Yes, they can.
That's why you talk about modifiable factors.
Exactly.
Now, the whole thing that once for women who are within the part where you also above 28 weeks, like you talked about, sometimes they say that if you get to consume certain fruits like pineapples, mango, and all of that, it triggers some sort of premature labor. How medically true is this?
Okay, so
And they are told never to go near it. I remember my case. You want to eat pineapple? No, don't eat it because you might have a stillbirth really or something.
okay, I must encourage our people. They are really trying, before medicine came into play, they were doing all that. So the thing about this pineapple thing, it doesn't cause stillbirth.
No
I don't
miscarriage.
think, no, it doesn't. I'm yet to see that medical book or the research saying that. Rather, there's this thing we normally do. So if your pregnancy is approaching term, and when I mean term, that's almost 40 weeks, and then it's approaching almost post-term, it's heading to 42 weeks. And, we don't want that baby to stay there for more than 42 weeks. So we'll kind of induce you. Okay, so we start all those induction. If we don't want to go straight ahead to give you drugs for that, we'll start by, telling you to have sex with your husband, take castor oil, and then, somehow pineapple and all those kind of things. So those ones can induce labor. Okay, but it doesn't mean that it causes miscarriages.
All right. Thank you so much. We will take a short break, and after that, Dr. Moneke will be talking to us on what to do once you experience a miscarriage or maybe have a stillbirth. You're watching Ghana Plus. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching Gyna Plus right here on Afia TV, and this is where we talk about health issues that affect women and girls in the society. My name is Doris Mayim Shishe, and of course I still have my very beautiful Dr. Moneke Chidimma. She is a resident doctor in obstetric and gynecology at the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital. We were talking about, you've talked about quite a number of things, quite an eye-opening session, I must say. Yeah. But then again, what should women do during or after a miscarriage? For instance, you talked about the fact that if you discover that you're bleeding more than usual, not a spot, you should rush to see the doctor. But within the space of time, what is expected of these women?
Okay, so it's very good that the first step is going to go see a doctor. Okay, so after that, the second step is being able to be compliant to everything your doctor has to tell you to do. Okay, so your doctor says you have to come for a follow-up, you need to go for a follow-up. You have to go do a scan, you need to go do a scan, because based on those investigations, those tests, something like a scan, based on what they get, the results, that's how the doctor is going to take up your case. Okay, so if the scan says, oh, the baby is still there, there's something we can still do, then the doctor knows what to do for you. But if the scan is saying the baby is not there anymore, we'll give you some time to think about it, give you some time to know the type of treatment that you want. There are different types of treatments. We could either give you some drugs, or we can do something we call an evacuation. Okay, so but before then, we can actually give you some time. No, it's actually a painful thing.
It is.
We'll give you some time, and then you can come back, and then we can continue from there. But the most important thing, go see your doctor, make sure that you're compliant to whatever your doctor tells you, okay? And then it's not just, this thing is actually a multidisciplinary thing. We also invite the psychologist, because actually the woman needs some psychotherapy. But in our environment, they'll be like, no, I'm okay. Waiting
it's a normal thing.
Yes. So, but that's the thing is, we have to start incorporating psychotherapy to everything in order to help the woman, mentally, socially, and otherwise to grow. Yeah.
Now, for a woman who probably may have experienced stillbirth, does this also require the same approach?
Okay, so a woman that probably has a stillbirth, that's a different approach, because after the ultrasound has been done, it's confirmed that the baby is dead. Okay, so when the baby is dead, you don't have that luxury of time to wait, because if you allow that baby inside that womb, the next thing will be battling it's the woman's life. Okay, because the woman is predisposed to what we call DIC. Okay, it's a big word, but it's just trying to say that, the body starts reacting to all that, and, the body is trying to expel the baby, your blood starts getting really crazy and frenzy, and that can actually lead to death.
Yeah. Now, for recovery process, I'm glad that this has been established. So women want to try, because I know we don't want to experience what is called loss. I know how traumatic it can be, losing a pregnancy or a baby. At what point should they start trying to get pregnant again?
Okay, so we are all different. Yes, we are human beings. We are all females, but we have different type of bodies. Okay, so for someone, the way you handle grief is not the way the other person is going to handle grief. So in telling a woman when to start, expecting or when to start trying again, it's all dependent on what the doctor saw or how the doctor had managed her. Okay, so if the doctor had probably managed her up till time and then there's nothing, there's no significant thing that he saw in her management, she can try as soon as she wants to. And then the most important thing is her mental health. Okay, so if she's mentally stable and strong, yeah, why not? But if she's still not mentally there, and because whether we like it or not, female hormones have a way to actually act with your psyche. Okay, so someone that is depressed and all that, it takes some time before you see the body trying to come back to get, be able to get pregnant again. So
it's about, it differs from person to person.
Yes, it
That's a
differs.
nutshell. Now, I like the fact that you talked about therapy.
Yes.
And this is something that is not really taken seriously in this part of the world, like you mentioned a while ago.
Yes.
But for coping mechanisms, are there some ways that you would suggest that women, something that they should do to help them, go through this grieving moment until they're ready to, get pregnant again? Like coping mechanisms.
Of course, I would really recommend a lot of coping mechanisms. So to start with, the first one should be support groups. Okay, so I would actually encourage the women to go in and, get themselves acquainted with a lot of support groups that are on ground, and where there you are going to meet people that have similar condition and people can share some thoughts on how to cope. Okay, then I also recommend, of course, we stay in the world where there is so much this part of the world is filled with a lot of religion and religious things. So if you are that type that believes in that, okay, you should go and meet your religious leaders and get some of succor from them. And so if you're into that, yeah, you should do that. Then the most important thing I keep stressing is the partner. The partners should be able to be there for their wives or their, girlfriends or their partners when they are going through such things. You have a very strong partner cooperation, and then probably family is behind you. Of course, yes, woman will pull through it.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned it. As we wrap up now, I was supposed to ask you this, a while ago. Are there certain meals that should be avoided after, during this phase, either miscarriage or stillbirth? Are there certain kind of food, diet that women should avoid completely? I know you mentioned caffeine and all of that, but for diet, let's know if there are any ones that should be avoided.
Okay, so as for diets, most times we recommend they take a lot of diet that has green vegetables because it will help build their immune system. It will help build their blood, anything that can make the blood levels come up, because, once you are miscarrying, you lose a lot of blood and stuff like that. So you just need to replenish that. And then we place them on some drugs like folic acid that can help them, so that if they are trying to get pregnant again, if whatever that happened earlier on was because of genetic or some effect, that will help prevent it.
Oh, great.
But as for food, they can have their normal food.
Healthy food.
Yes, except maybe if they are diabetic, then they should go see a dietitian for that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And of course, we'll be chatting with a very beautiful Dr. Monica Chidinma. She is a resident doctor in obstetric and gynecology at the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, and she's been talking to us about miscarriage and, of course, stillbirth. I know it's a very trying moment for some mommies. So if you are going through this, it's not the end of the world. Like you've heard, it's not something that, you should kill yourself over, because you're going to have another baby again. And you should try to see a doctor. If you feel like you're not coping, you feel like you're not concentrating, please avail yourself of some therapy, because, that's what the doctor said. So you should try this out. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. My name is Doris Mayim Shishe. Remember, we actually shot this here one year at Foodopolis, and this is one place where you should try out some good meals. Remember, I talked about living healthy. She talked about eating healthily. Here is one spot we can actually have all of that. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening. Bye.